everyone. Thank you so much for sticking with us here. We are in the second series of the day today. Harrisburg University going into Winthrop, and we have a 1-1 tie, which is my favorite way to kick things off here. I am your play-by-play, I guess. I'm Jolly, and I'm joined here by the most amazing man in LCS, and that is Crumbs.
Dude, I cannot agree to that. That is far too high a compliment. But the way to look at the game, how players often talk about it when you're already down 1-1, is you just say, oh, we're in a best of 3 now. So that can be a great way for the audience at home to also view this one. The 1-1 score cancels itself out. We're back to a best of 3. And so it means that first to 2. You only got to put 2 games together, and so in a way, the win here is one of the most important in this series because it'll take you to match point, and it puts all the pressure on the enemy to come back.
And it definitely feels like Winthrop has the edge, at least after that second game. You mentioned before we hop to break, Crumbs, that that first game is kind of getting the feel of the opponent. And these teams have played each other, but Winthrop actually has so many more games this season as well. So that's something to consider, that maybe they're a little more quick to adapt to this. I think you're looking at 10-7 for the games. So 17 games that, Harrisburg has played. And then you're looking at like 35 and 34 for the win-loss. So you're looking at like 70 games that Winthrop has played. A lot more experience under their belt, and probably a lot more recognition in terms of these compositions and what works well for them as a team.
Clearly, the Nautilus works very well for them as a team. It had a good showing the last game in both the team fighting and the laning phase. Game 1, yeah, it suffered that early casualty with the 1v1 or 2v2 kill at level 1, but they have fallen back to a very similar composition as last time around. You've got the Jinx, the Rumble, and the Nautilus as well. It has been the Storm that has made a change here by denying away the Tristana, but other than that, they're also falling back on the same things we've seen in games 1 and 2. Victor in the mid lane, not a lot of variance in these first 3 games, so teams are just saying it has been play every time that has cost us the games. It has not been the draft. We're happy with what we're taking. We'll just play it better.
And these bans have been the exact same. So not just the picks. There's none of these respect bans that you kind of expect, except for this Morgana ban. That is the one change, and there was banned out last game. So that's a nice little respect ban that Winthrop dropped here, saying, hey, you know what? We don't want Shorter Ace on that Morgana again. That was one of the killers for us in game number 1. So it looks like Shorter Ace is going to stick with this Xin Zhao, and hopefully, like the analyst said, get a little bit more damage off this time.
Yeah, Morgana is just really powerful, not just in the farming speed, but you don't even have to gank and you can still be incredibly relevant in the team fighting, just denying the Nautilus. That's a key part of Morgana's Black Shield. Nautilus ultimate's not going to go off. It's just going to be fizzled out. So putting Shorter Ace on the Xin, I think works really well for Winthrop because it forces him to go for these ganks. And like the desk highlighted, he went for this early gank. It backfired and the punishment can be too hard. When the junglers are not at the top speed of farming, the opportunity cost for going for these ganks is so much higher because if it goes wrong, well, it really gets punished.
And it's going to make things more difficult for Winthrop because I actually didn't see there is a change in the bans for Harrisburg. It's that Aatrox instead of banning out the Akali. And that means that Winthrop has picked up the Akali for this game, something that they certainly prioritize, have a lot of flexibility with as well. Honestly, Winthrop players love the flexes. They flex their flexes for sure. That Wukong's going to be locked back in, though, for Sandflame. So we're looking at very, very similar compositions. Storm, honestly, they've got the damage available. It's just Clyde. Clyde can't get caught out as many times as he did early on. I think they kind of need to adjust that strategy a bit. But aside from that, I'm mostly worried, honestly. You got Frost Forest back on the Rumble. Very surprised that was not banned out with the amazing equalizers and the level 3 gank that he provided. But then now to have Doxa on this Akali, I mean, this is something that Harrisburg needs to watch out for.
Yeah, you are a carry on this team, and now you have the Nautilus ultimate on top of you, Equalizer, and Akali diving onto you. And if that's not enough, you know that Jinx is throwing her super mega death rocket at you as well. So good luck surviving. So much of it will come down to the Wukong and the set actually setting up the fight and probably engaging on their own terms. A big part of the game, we always talk about it, is who can send more players to the fight sooner. Well, another aspect is engaging first. Can you start the fight on your own terms, catch the opponent off guard, and oftentimes it's those split seconds of extra damage or extra crowd control that can make all the difference in a game of League of Legends.
And Winthrop has the priority on that again. They are on the blue side, no changes here, so Harrisburg has decided to stick with this red side that was successful for them in that game number 1. I would love to see, honestly, just to see how close these, I would love to see Harrisburg have, a massive win over Winthrop, just to kind of give them a taste of their own medicine. But the adaptability from Winthrop is the thing that I'm so dang impressed with. And I think that's something Harrisburg really, really needs to focus on this time, is getting that vision down, putting it in places that Winthrop is not going to immediately remove them, and ensuring that you're consistently laying down that vision as well as clearing out the enemy vision, because we know how aggressive it is right from the beginning of the game.
Yeah, and I think that vision started last game with the level 1 invade that Harrisburg went for. They didn't commit to laying down a ward on the red side. They backed off at the side of the trinket ward from Saskio, and so it ended up with Frost Forest getting vision on the shorter races start. They had no idea what Rumble's path was going to be, and that ultimately hurt them. So I think this time around, they played it safe, the standard point defense, making sure that both teams don't know where the jungler starts, and at the very least, that's better than giving information for free.
Certainly is, especially for Harrisburg. The last thing that you want to do is give Winthrop more information, because they can collect so much off of just a little bit. Really, everything you can keep from them is going to help you survive here. But Harrisburg starting a little bit safer this time, and we don't have any invades yet, but here's the big thing, is this bottom lane. All that needs to be done by Winthrop really to shut down Clyde is to stay aggressive here, to maintain this, and then just wait for that Rumble to hop down as soon as he's got a few clears. And it's, I mean, you just don't want to push too far forward if you do want to get that gank off, but shutting down Clyde would be a great start for Winthrop. Worked last game, should work again.
Yeah, it really worked. I mean, they started harvesting the set last time around, just constantly getting gold off of him. And so this time around, you can see that the wave is being played very differently from the side of Harrisburg, because we've got already 3 games in a row of the same sides of Nautilus versus Set, the hooks, the haymakers being traded, and now Clyde has progressively been playing more and more passive, just biding his time for the better opportunity, as Sir Kenji and Saskia have caught up to the tricks that the Set lanes were up to in the first game, and are no longer falling for it.
And I'm curious to see, too, how this Tristana matches up with the Set. We saw the Kaisa 2 times in a row. You know, it allows you to follow up on the engage. If you get the Showstopper from Set, you can throw out the Void Seeker, or if you already have stacks, you can use the Killer Instinct to fully engage here. Now you've got a rocket jump on Hopeful to either get out or get in. So a little bit more escapability, a little bit more potential survivability here, but still a massive amount of damage coming from this player. So it's going to be interesting to see how they move forward. It's got to be safe, though, and that's really unfortunate, because Clyde has to face something like this, but so much damage from that Haymaker. What a shield as well. You get the root onto Hopeful, but no kills. Just a lot of damage back and forth.
Yeah, and they're happy to take these kinds of trades, because they know their jungler is down here. Zin is in the top side, so it's okay. If Clyde and Hopeful ever wanted to be aggressive, they would be ganked. So they can go for this, and they can take a recall here. If they want to, they can just crash this minion wave, knowing that there is no vision, and just get out of town, get some items, and return to the lane safely, knowing that Clyde and Hopeful won't be back. Instead, though, they'll stay down here. They know that the Rumble is pathing up again, so they can just continue to play the pressure of their lane with their jungle, and that allows them to continue to gain these advantages. You see it already in the health potions. 10 CS up and a lot more health for the AD carries. It's a big deal on this bot lane.
And into the Tristana as well. You can't farm with this. Clyde's just going to flash in the rocket jump to follow it up. Out comes the E shorter. Ace is in the wings, but not close enough. The second rocket jump will go through. The exhaust is not enough to stop Hopeful. And they're going to make it into 2 kills down to the bottom. Shorter Ace gets 1, Hopeful the other.
Very good gank there out of shorter ace, and Clyde flashing in catches Saskio at the very edge of the face breaker, and it's going to cost them big time. Look at him go. Just at the very max range, they had no idea that the Xin was on the way, even dodges away out of the first rocket jump, but Hopeful gets the reset, gets the next one, and then shorter ace prioritizing the Nautilus. Didn't flash away in time, got hit by the audacious charge, and then the flash auto attack at the very end. Getting that double kill is reminiscent of game 1, where Clyde got ahead and just took over a lot of these engages. Let's see if this invade turns to something, though. Shorter ace doesn't have flash.
They've got the pinch on shorter ace. Dox is actually going to dash over the wall. We're going to break away from this fight. Not quite what they intended.
That was close, though. 3 villains in the blue side looking for the Xin. They're lucky that Akali was not level 6. Otherwise, I think she would have been glad to commit to that fight. And I like to see that the support and the jungle are already grouping up. Despite losing that early double kill in the bot lane, they can still group up together and look for Xin, and more importantly, get that deep vision. But some of it has already been cleared out. So Xin will be able to gank this lane again if he so chooses.
It does look like Winthrop is going to choose to move on this dragon. This has certainly been their priority 3 games in a row. The moment they get the chance to, if they have pressure in the bottom lane, they move on that dragon. And they're okay with giving up the ganks by keeping pressure on that bottom lane. Now they can kind of let Hopeful push back out a little bit in hopes that Frost Forest can make it down in time. But Winthrop is, they got to maintain this pressure. They need to find some ganks. They need to not let this Tristana get out of hand. And falling behind in the bottom lane was certainly one of the things that Winthrop needed to focus on and needed to get an advantage in. So, stopping that, the equalizer hits nobody, trying to catch out shorter ace, but you don't need an equalizer when you got a Nautilus hook and a passive.
Yeah, they knew he has no flash, so they just wanted to cut off his right. He's about to mini-nard. They're going to go in.
There's the Cyclone coming out. Hybrid's taking a lot of damage. The second Cyclone pop. An empowered Q there. The reset will hit. Hybrid splashing over the wall, followed up with another flash. The blast cone will be used, though, and Sam Flame makes it out. Avoids that boomerang for the slow. That's going to be the end of that.
So close there. The blast cone just being the demise of the 1v1. He could have gotten that kill, saw the opportunity. He was about to get exhausted. No chance of getting Mega again. But the blast cone helps him out again. The only way to know that it would have been available is thinking, well, maybe Frost Forest didn't use it earlier and hasn't been waiting in this brush. No chance of knowing that. He went for the opportunity. Unfortunately, he lost it. But now he just needs to call his jungler up again and look for that same window, as it'll always be available in the Wukong versus Gnar matchup.
And still has the teleport there, so a little bit of an advantage as Gnar just telling back up here. We got Rumble in that tri-bush, but Wukong, Sandflame playing so safe here. In the meantime, Harrisburg has pressure on the bottom. They're going to find themselves a plate, get even more of a gold advantage. Winthrop has had creep advantage in most every single lane, so they're close to evening things back out, but they did have a lead before that double kill. And all Harrisburg needs to do is keep this a-rolling. Look at Saskio getting pitched out here by Clyde, who's just going to throw down a ton of damage. It's this harass that Harrisburg is so good at, this mind game of, hey, you don't know where we are. We're going to make sure that we catch you out.
You catch him out, but you did lose the Rift Herald for it. Lost a little bit of CS, a plate only, so Frost Forest is more than happy with that one. And you mentioned that the advantage of CS has constantly been going the Winthrop way, and I think a big part of it has been the Rumble matchup. He just gets Rumble versus Xin 2 games in a row. He's gonna outpace you. You have to find these ganks. And so while Xin did get that one in the bot side, that kill onto him was very deadly. Not only because the gold went onto Frost Forest, but because it slows down his clear so much worse. He really needs to stay in the game, killing, finding ganks, and getting the pressure. Because if you just try to race against the Rumble in farming, this is a sports car going up against an SUV. You got no chance. You're always going to lose. You need to do something else.
And not only fast or clear, but we know that Frost Forest has made an appearance in a couple of, in a couple of lanes. And so that's certainly something else that they're looking at. The amount of roam that comes from Frost Forest is insane. So getting solid clears, being able to get pokes and help the enemy team worked in the last game. But Winthrop is going to need to find a few of those successes to get the ball rolling on their side of the field here.
Yeah, and part of it is going to be punishing those flashes. You see Shorter Ace there, hoping that the Akali would go in and be really aggressive and overextend it, but it's that kind of play that really bites you much harder than you would hope in the current meta. It's just so dangerous to sit idle looking for the opportunity that the enemy missteps instead of just crashing a wave and trying to tower dive. That's going to be much more guaranteed. Those are the plays that they have to go for.
And it's kind of surprising, too, to compare these 3 games. Honestly, it's the same teams, both times on both sides. But the amount of aggression that we are seeing from Harrisburg compared to the second game, it is reminiscent of the first game. But to see that coin flip just kind of go back and forth and to see how well Harrisburg is able to utilize that, that's got to be one of their strategies continuing to go forward because it's working very well and it's preventing Winthrop from finding each of those little victories that they tend to that stack up into a massive one and really push them over the edge. So Harrisburg already looking good here. The game is not over yet, though. So a lot of opportunity for Winthrop to clean things up. A lot of great team fight mechanics available on the call position on that blue side. So once we get to that stage in the game, we'll have to see who plays it out or if any early advantage can be made because both the first and the second game, there was an early advantage found. This game, they are not allowing that to happen.
Yeah, they both learned because the early advantage seemed to have dictated the entire pace of the losses for both teams. The first one in the bot lane got snowballed. The second game, the same thing happened. That early kill got blown out of proportion, and Winthrop just ran away with it. So I see why both teams have fallen back to being a little bit more passive this time around. They don't want the game to be decided this early on and not have a significant chance in the mid to late game. So slowing things down, not a problem here, but still there's going to be a lot of fun execution to watch. I'm looking at Daxa with the Akali. It was banned before. I need to see him perform on it. He's farming fine. We know she can lane easily, but how flashy are the mechanics of this pick on him? Can he actually dive the backline in tandem with the Rumble and the Nautilus? Because if so, we've got a really deadly combination that will have to be respected in the next game.
And with Frost Forest, too, there to help out Akali, who better than just to throw some extra damage down in the back. You don't have as much crowd control as we've seen from some of the other junglers that are in there, but that's not necessary when you've got Doxa on such a strong champion. It's just going to be a bit of a slower lane, and we can see there's no focus from the jungles. They're just letting that mid lane island kind of take place while they focus on getting the push in the bottom and the top, because that's where they need to find pressure. We talked about getting the Gnar and the Set as some of these members of the Xin Zhao and the Set to get a little bit fed, but they need some more damage to be able to get there, and with so much range on the opposite side, it's very difficult right now to find a spot to poke in.
I think you hit exactly on the danger of these picks like Xin. You need something, right? You absolutely need to find these plays, or else your relevancy in the game is just not as high as these other power farmers. And that's the problem that Harrisburg is currently facing. Shorter Ace needs to find a play. He's getting outpaced by the Rumble, and Rumble is just power clearing constantly while the Xin is looking for mid mistakes like we just saw. And those mid mistakes are compounding into a larger gold disadvantage from the jungle, and the Rumble just synergizes so well with this composition already. This pick can take over these team fights in just a single spell. So Shorter Ace needs to be in tandem with his team. See, even this is just so difficult to find the kill. As long as Doxa plays a little bit far away, he's got flash, he's got his ultimate. If he just hugs the other side of the map, he won't die here. Gets stunned though, this could be it.
That stun might do it. The ultimate's going to come out. A flash and a flash. Shorter Ace does not get the kill. Doxa gets out alive. And a little bit of wasted time there from Harrisburg.
Yeah, all that effort, and I think Doxa will still be able to survive in this lane. Oh, got stunned again.
That's going to hurt. The second pop does not hit though, so Doxa needs to get out of dodge.
Yeah, that second gravity field was really significant. I thought he would have been able to stay healing up with his fleet footwork, but that second stun got him way too low, not worth it. They got something, but it still comes at a cost, right? You got to play it in the mid lane, but now the Rumble is even more ahead than the Xin because he just got a flash. That's not enough. You need to be getting more, and now the Dragon Fight is approaching, and it's a double Sorcerer Shoes item spike for your mages. They are going to love it on the side of Winthrop.
Once again, really solid vision as well from Winthrop, making a very early move towards this dragon. Very aggressive movements as well, and that's been the biggest helper for them on these engages, is forcing out a little bit of this roam and then throwing some wards down. They have done such a good job of covering the pathing that Harrisburg needs to maintain to be able to access these objectives. And if Winthrop is able to prevent Harrisburg from picking any of these up, then Xin Zhao's never going to be able to get enough damage to really help out in this match.
Yeah, he's pretty far behind, so he'll have to be synergistic with the rest of the squad. He's got some good abilities, though, to team fight. His ultimate does allow him to survive fairly well, but the curious thing for me is going to be what Sandflame does. His Q is going to be really relevant in actually boosting the damage of both Hopeful and Shorter Ace in this game. And so if the Wukong can end up having a good game, he can make up for some of Shorter Aces and Clyde's under levels this time around. So there's a better chance of team fighting effectively from this lineup. But an area that has been a bit of a problem from Harrisburg, even in the game that they won, has been that coordination in their engages. They have been a little bit out of sync, and that has been punished. And as Winthrop is warming up, I get the feeling that they'll be much better at recognizing those moments and capitalizing on it.
And with a team that prides themselves a lot, considering themselves to be one of the best teams in CLOL at macro and at team fighting. And so for Winthrop to not even allow that team fight stage to really hit for Harrisburg has been huge. Both of these compositions, though, are looking for this team fight stage. So really, the early snowball in this game doesn't matter as much, and that's probably why it wasn't really a priority for either of these teams. They've been taking a little bit slower. We're at 13 minutes, and there's only 3 kills on the board, so 1 more minute for plates here. A lots of back and forth gold, just a very, very even, slow-paced game, so that they ensure they don't step out of line and turn things around. Because we've seen how quickly these teams can snowball. Shorter Ace goes in. Frostforce has to flash away, though, but a lot of damage in response. You can't mess with that. Sandflame is going to flash away from Hybrids, who is going to get the W and secure the kill on the top side. Oh, Frostforce is going to stop the recall. Out comes the showstopper on top of the equalizer. Clyde should be taken down here in response. No flash, or the flash is available, but there's no reason to use it when you know you'll just be engaged upon. Doxa has a dash.
True bro, though, Doxa. He's waiting for Saskia to get in range to get an auto attack. Sees that Clyde's not going to let it happen. Swifties too fast. Like, fine, I will take the kill. But don't say that I didn't try to share some of the gold with you. Clyde finds a kill on the Rumble, though. That is a big move there. They got the flash earlier, stayed in the jungle. Surprised, though, that they weren't a little bit more cautious with making sure that the rest of the squad has stepped out. But first, we're going to see and play from the entirety, because Rumble does a ton of damage here. I think Frostforce could have stayed had Clyde not shown up, but then they see Shorter Ace leave, and they don't know exactly where the set is. And just because the rest of the squad is collapsing, they're more than happy to go in, and then they realize, the set was here the whole time. He took down our jungler. Lucky that he had no gold bounty on his head, otherwise that could have been very dangerous.
And we didn't even see, it wasn't until that replay, the Saskio Super Mega Death Rocket that almost took out another member there for Harrisburg. So that's something they need to watch. That range is something that is going to be utilized as much as possible here, whether it's just equalizer damage far back or Saskio popping shots off. It's kind of a get down, Mr. President sort of composition here. Now they're like, all right, we've got a couple carries and we can just surround them with who we have. Hybrids goes in for the aggression and has been doing a great job of maintaining the economy on his rage. So lots of big opportunities here moving forward, but I do think that Harrisburg has been so great at being aggressive here, doing exactly what Winthrop did in the last game to take advantage, forcing reactive play by playing proactively. You just got to be a little bit careful with it and not go too far in with the rest of the team so far behind.
Yeah, and also getting out quickly. Right, when you engage and the fight takes too long, you can be certain that the rest of the team is going to quickly respond. The calls are going to be made that, hey, I need some help. And in the meantime, the reason why Hybrid has been crushing this matchup has been because Shorter Ace was not able to give as much help to Sandflame as in the previous games. He has been on his own, and that has been the result of Anar being very powerful in this matchup. We've got 15 seconds on the Dragon. Wukong has teleport. Let's see what he does to get into this fight, because it seems like he's just going straight to the top lane, and we'll be waiting for the rest of the team. They don't want to give this up entirely. They've got mythics completed, so they are in the position to take a fight.
It's going to be a 4v4, though, as the teleport comes through here. Saskia is going to be the first one to take quite a bit of damage. Harrisburg kind of moving themselves out of a position. They had the push here. They had the positioning for this dragon, and sort of allowed Winthrop to re-engage and re-emerge back into the lane. And that means that now Winthrop is going to have priority. Clear out the vision, at least take something here. We got some pings from Akali on the backside as well. A little bit of a distraction game towards the mid side, because Winthrop knows how much damage they're capable of doing. And if Doxa can get into this fight, it could be devastating for Harrisburg.
Sandflame is not level 11, though. The Wukong ultimate is so critical to be leveled up for that extra damage. It really ramps up, so him not having that does put them at a bit of a disadvantage. The gold lead is starting to mount, and without even contesting the mid wave, they're not in a position to look for this. They're going for the wave, but by this time, it's going to be too late. Winthrop will get this dragon safely.
Nice little consolation for them, you know, of not quite feeling like they have as much pressure as the last game. There's going to be a flash forward, a root. The ultimate from Victor comes out, and Clyde just gets melted by the Super Mega Death Rocket. The Equalizer gets a lot of burn damage on the backside. Hybrids tries to slow him down and pick up some more rage here with the boomerang, but it's just going to be the one kill. No, Like a Boss is going to be jumped on, but Sandflame has the ultimate. It might not be level 11, but it's enough to pick up a kill and save his teammate. In the meantime, Hybrids wants to continue on this fight, picks up the one. That's going to be another tower for Winthrop, and another charge from Shelly.
They're feeling flashy. They see the fight. Just a single kill, the drag, it's not enough. It didn't feel like a fight. We need to be going in. And so Doxa has the opportunity to go after Victor, thinking he can one-shot him, but Wukong with the knock-up interrupts him, takes him out. Luckily, they find another kill, but they're able to get another tower, and that is going to be really big for Winthrop. That tier 2 will shove the team so far back, and the engage starts with Nautilus going onto Clyde, so he doesn't ult him right away, but he gets it onto Xin, which is a result. Ults him, a great equalizer, forces multiple flashes out of Harrisburg, makes it so much easier for them to follow up. And then Doxa, he's got the charges of the ult, and he's like, I gotta use these, don't I? Not really, but hey, it looked cool, and it ended up getting more kills in the end, because Like a Moss ends up stepping too far forward, doesn't anticipate the crunch and stride breaker range that Hybrids has available to him.
Sandflame and Hybrids, a little bit of a swap here. And a mid lane swap as well to the top side. Dox is going to get stunned up. The ultimate comes out. Like a Moss taking a lot of damage, but Dox is dealing it right back, and that 1v1 goes in favor of Winthrop.
Clean, clean. He knew he could kill him, right? That is why he initially had gone onto Victor earlier in the mid lane, knowing that his damage is more than enough to take him out. It was that time he had no Wukong to help him, and so it was a swift assassination of the mid lane matchup. So that is now 2 side lanes that Winthrop is winning at, making it much harder for Harrisburg University to actually find their footing in this game. It's once again going to be up to Clyde. Sandflame is level 11, but if he's never allowed to join the team, being 2 levels down from Hybrids, he'll be shoved into his turret all day and never participate in a fight.
And that's kind of what led to Harrisburg's demise in the last game that we saw. It was really big control from Winthrop, and they have regained control of this proactive play, forcing Harrisburg on the reactive. And now that they have 4 towers, 3 towers up, that means that Harrisburg is going to have to spend a lot more time playing it safe, trying to throw down vision. And speaking of vision, I just cannot get over, I respect so much the amount of defensive vision that Winthrop continues to throw down, even though they have pressure in all of these lanes.
You have to, right? Well, not so deep as what they currently have in their
Yeah.
own red side, but the ones around River are the ones that will actually allow you to see if Clyde gets to go into the flank missions that he has been attempting in the previous games in this one, because that's the avenue that this team is looking for. They're looking for angles where they can find individual members by themselves, and so making sure that that vision is at the very least at River is going to be critical. Clyde looking for something. Oh, gets hooked though. He's going to die.
Ooh, what an equalizer to hit all three members there. Clyde just takes way too much damage. Frost Force is going to pick that one up. Winthrop is going to continue to just put pressure on Harrisburg's jungle.
They need to prioritize their minion waves on the side of Harrisburg if they want to be going for these plays. Without the minion waves threatening to crash onto the turrets of Winthrop, there's no need for them to worry about who is in the jungle. They're not going to miss out on any experience, so they have no problem sending multiple members into the river, into the jungle, looking for trouble. And because Harrisburg University's waves are crashing, they end up losing more. It's their champions that are stuck farming away, as we see like a Moss up here trying to crash the wave. And they even had this ward in the mid lane at the tier 2 that they earlier took to see if there was any follow-up available. When they see that the carries are so far away, it's easy pickings running that ultimate to take down the support.
I mean, Winthrop's making it really hard, though, for Harrisburg to be able to get in there. And it's this control, this patience as well, waiting out hybrids is going to be able to stop that recall. We might get a little bit of a fight. That's 3 members here, but Shorter Ace just takes so much damage. The teleport coming through, the Flame Spitter won't get enough, and that Super Mega Death Rocket is just going to get ulted away by Shorter Ace. Speaking of ults, the Equalizer on the backside comes through. Hopeful gets flashed on and autoed there by Doxa. The Cyclone coming out on the backside. Frost Forest is able to take down this Wukong right after Saskia loses his life, but he will be the only member of Winthrop to go down. And another ace goes over to the blue side.
Oh, a huge ace, too. That's going to be Baron, and they're going to be able to get the Cloud Soul afterwards. That is a giant win fight for them. It's really difficult now for Harrisburg. It's twice they get caught, and they don't get the fight on their own terms. Xin is face checking. The hook for Sir Kenji is there just as it was for Clyde. They engage on him once again. And when the Xin is forced to use the ultimate to disengage, that's the cue. That's when they know they can commit everything on the team fight, and they're going to win it. They do. It seems like it's a beeline from Harrisburg to maybe salvage the Ocean Soul, see if they can stop it. I think Trist has enough damage, though. So it looks like not all is lost for Harrisburg. They get something in return. It gets spotted out, though. Maybe a Super Mega Death Rocket can steal it.
Maybe it can. It is up and available, but that is a lot of damage here waiting for the Super Mega Death Rocket. Just a little too late. A 1/10 of a second, maybe, and it is going to be Shorter Ace who finds the smite.
That's that jungle change for you right there. I think that's the only reason why that one was able to be secured. The 1,000 smite at a Shorter Ace. But back on the fight. Has to use the ultimate right away. And while the Super Mega Death Rocket used unwisely on the Zin's ultimate, the damage has already been done. They're on their retreat. Doxa flashing and takes out the carry, knowing that he has a stopwatch, and then the fight is already over. The Wukong does what he can in the back line, but they're so far behind. The carries are not there to follow up. There's no Chaos Storm, no set ultimate to combo with that. It's just a Wukong and nobody else. So everybody gets split apart, and they lose the Baron for it. And it seems like match point is all but Winthrop University's.
Certainly feels that way. We're looking at less than 25 minutes, and once again, a 10k gold lead in favor of Winthrop. Now they've got Baron buff. They are pushing in the mid. They are pushing down the bottom. The vision is widespread across their own jungle and the enemy's jungle. They are not willing to give it up here, so they're going to move forward with some trepidation. But they certainly, it feels like they have this in their clutches. They just don't want to give it up. They don't want to give a single chance over to Harrisburg to potentially turn things around.
Yeah, it's the engage from Clyde. The second they see the set, they need their eyes on him. They need their eyes on the Wukong, and then they're fine. Because they're winning this side lane so hard. Right now, they're just splitting themselves up in 2 lanes. They could go to 3 if they really wanted to, but if they can get a team fight here, if they can just get a dive, it's going to be so easy. The flashes are down on Like a Moss, on Shorter Ace and Clyde. Even the Wukong doesn't have it, so the opportunity is available, but there is some standing gold on the map with the Tier 2. They can threaten multiple lanes at once, and that's what they're going to do instead, trying to maximize the Baron empowerment of the minions to get as much gold as possible and maybe even more inhibitors.
Trying to get damage down on that third tower as well. They had Baron-empowered minions hitting both the mid and the bottom, so a little bit more pressure than a full tower. They're going to continue to push these Baron minions. This is... Whoa. Oh my gosh, wait, that's going to be a hook in. Kenji says, you know what, I can take advantage of this. The equalizer comes out on the backside. In comes Meganar, gets 3 there and is going to throw it down to the W, but Shorter Ace has to escape from this Frost Forest, finds one with the Flame Spitter on the backside. Doxa is all about jumping under that tower, trying to get some more kills, but Like a Moss is going to find the shutdown in response, and that's a big one to take.
That is a big one. The Baron is already out, so they're not going to be able to continue this push. The wave clear from Victor is going to be good. That is a huge win, and I'm glad that it ended up being a win for Harrisburg, because starting the fight blind onto Clyde felt like they were just hoping that the pattern that has worked all game long would be repeated. The danger was that this time around, the follow-up from Harrisburg was much closer. While Gnar was able to get a nice ultimate, the Jinx and the Rumble weren't as quick to initially burst down the set as in the previous times when they caught them at the river. So that is why the fight went so much better for the side of Harrisburg. Then when the Akali dives in, it's just a nice fatty shutdown. Yeah, she had the stopwatch, but the rest of the team wasn't going to be able to make it there to block it for her. It could have just put everybody else in harm's way. So she accepts the death, goes down, gives some bounty away, but they don't get the inhibitor. And that is a big deal for the Baron. Not having gotten that one keeps the base alive for Harrisburg University.
And it kind of felt like, too, you know, nobody aside from Kenji there. It was Kenji's decision is what it felt like. And the rest of Winthrop was like, all right, well, we've got to make a move on it. Maybe we can do something. We have such a big advantage. But they also had a lot of gold in their pockets that they hadn't spent. So it ends up being another small victory for Harrisburg, but the gold deficit is still over 10,000 in favor of the Eagles here. Seems like they are surviving this storm with no problem. They have located the eye, and they have stuck with it. You got that hurricane tracker on board, but Harrisburg looking to try to find something here. Hybrids doesn't have Meganar, but at this point in the game, it is so easy to hit it. There we go. Kenji's going to be the one to try to start things out. In comes the flash of the Wukong ultimate. Clyde goes down, and Hybrids picks that one up. In comes the ultimate as well. Gnar on the backside. That's going to lock down one member, and this fight has been so split apart. Every member of Harrisburg separated from the rest of the team, and that's all it takes here for Winthrop to find themselves yet another clean ace, and likely the win and match point.
It just was not close. Yeah, the gold lead wasn't as dominant as game 2, but from start to finish, Winthrop has been in control here. All their fights have gone their way. They have shut down the main engage of Clyde. Shorter Ace is not able to do what he wants on the Xin Zhao pick. The lanes have gone in their favor, and they're growing confident as the games go by, and they're now at match point.
Now at match point. That's certainly something that we have to recognize about this team, is they are improving every single game. I still cannot believe that that first game that we saw was the same team here, because they have cleaned up so well. They got some spit shine going on right now in this team, and they are not looking to drop it anytime soon. The pressure is now on, though, for Harrisburg, as Winthrop is at match point. They do not want to allow this to get to Silver Scrapes.
Yeah, and I think it's obvious what they have to do. Just completely change the plan, because you have had all these games in the same side with roughly the same draft, the same mid laner, the same support, 2 games of the Xin Zhao, 2 games of the Wukong, so they can have a lot more variety in what they go with in this next game, so they can still surprise us. It's just a matter of how confident were they in these picks, because they stuck to it so much, and already it's failed twice.
Maybe ban the Rumble? Maybe ban the Rumble?
Yeah.
I I think banning the Rumble would be a really good way to go about this because those equalizers have been insane, and Frost Forest is just getting way too invasive early on, way too quick in those clears. You got to force him onto something else. So hopefully we will see that here. But we are going to take another quick break, so go get your snacks, go get your refreshments. You're not going to want to miss this next one, but we're going to be checking in with the State Farm analyst desk beforehand, so stick around for this commercial. We will be right back with more College League of Legends.
Welcome back to the 2021 College League of Legends Championship. As our analysts predicted, the series is starting to really go towards the Winthrop side. The Eagles starting to take flight in full effect in that game, but HU Storm will continue to have an opportunity to do so, as this is a best of 5 series, so it ain't over yet. And hey, Fire, that's one thing actually we got to hear from Niles a bit earlier about the impact of the best of 5 compared to the best of 3. I do just want to get your quick thoughts as a competitor on how much you feel that shakes things up.
I mean, the best of 5 is a totally different beast. You know, if this was a best of 3, it would already be over, but the teams now have even more time to adapt, to think about the strategies that they want to employ, think about, you know, their executions in game as well. I'm not sure if we'll see anything different because we've seen more or less the same for 3 games, but there's always hope there.
Oh yeah, always a little bit of hope, and I think at the beginning of this game, we did see a bit of hope sparked for HU Storm as that play in the bot lane that will be brought to you by Stream Recap went a bit differently at Fire.
No, yeah, Harrisburg showing that even though last game went pretty poorly for them, they were still willing to find these aggressive plays. This time Short Race comes down, after he gets all of his camps and is able to come and pick up the bonus kill on Sir Kenji, get their bot lane a nice lead. The only thing that was unfortunate about it was it didn't end up resulting in a lot. They still lost the first dragon. They didn't really have great control anywhere. So going forward, if they are able to find these early game plays, I want to try to see them push it, revisit that lane, re-gank it, keep applying the pressure, and try to get some of those early objectives.
Yeah, one thing I want to point out and follow up on that is that once again, we saw Winthrop have complete domination over these early objectives, both with the Drake and with the Rift Herald. So I think it's one thing. I'm glad that HU Storm are still looking for these early plays. And now it's really about, okay, like, what are you going to get out of this? What are you going to transfer it into? Even if it's just now we have a bot side advantage, we set up our vision, get the next Drake, make sure we're really set up for it and ready to go. Because it's still in games 2 or in this game and the game previous. So yeah, games 2 and 3. We saw that Winthrop just had complete domination over a lot of these early objectives.
Yeah, reliving some of those moments from the game. Yes, we saw that early domination over the objectives. Emily, you mentioning how much that they were really able to get from this, specifically bringing it over towards that mid lane fight that we're getting to take a look at now.
Yeah, so, they're going to end up getting a lot from this because they've already just taken Drake. They're going to have this mid Herald fight, and then they're this mid lane fight, and then they're going to be able to drop Herald and get 2 turrets off of it. Doxa gets a little hypey there, but it doesn't matter because, again, they have Herald. They're already pushing the wave in. They managed to get onto Lycomaz immediately regardless, and with hybrids as this front line for this fight, they're able to lead this Herald in for 2 turrets. And this is kind of a difference in terms of when we talk about HU Storm and when they get a pick or when they get a fight, what are they getting out of it? We've seen that they've really struggled to convert that into significant map advantages outside of game 1. Whereas here, we see them get 1 fight even when Doxa gets, picked off, because again, he goes a little too far in there. We still see them end up getting 2 turrets out of it, and it's off of the back of already picking up Drake. So this is the difference in terms of what Winthrop is getting out of some of these plays and what HU Storm is able to get.
Yeah, and to piggyback off that, I do want to highlight that Doxa, while he might have been going in, getting a little hyphy, going a little crazy, part of the reason why they were able to get the 2 towers is because he did some damage to the Victor. The Victor ended up getting flashed on and dying shortly after. So even if his initial play didn't work out, his team was there to back him up and follow through, as well having the Herald that Frost Force was able to secure. So, they're picking up for each other's maybe little individual mistakes and, punishing as a team, which is what I want to see HU Storm do when they get those leads.
Sometimes you feel that happiness rise. Fafar, I'm sure you can relate in those moments. You feel it take over. And in a lot of points of this game, it really felt like Harrisburg was able to take over, or rather on the side of Winthrop, Emily.
Yeah, so they're going to end up collapsing on this fight. This is eventually going to end up in a Baron for them and then closing the game out. What I really like about this is that you get to see how this team composition really likes to split up fights, right? The Rumble ult is going to end up coming through, and even if it doesn't hit anyone, it ends up separating this fight out, and that's where hybrids can be this insane frontline and just get on their carries. That's where we can see Doxa have the room to just go in and assassinate whoever he wants. And this is exactly how this team composition wants to work. We talked about, like, how is this specific comp going to work in, like, 5v5s? Splitting it up like this is, like, absolutely perfect. That's exactly what they want.
Yeah, and as you're mentioning, Winthrop was ending a lot cleaner this game. There wasn't so much dancing. They weren't waiting for Soul. They got 1 Baron. They broke most of the base. Then they won 1 more fight, and the game was over. So honestly, if the series, is keeping trending this way, I feel bad for HU. I feel good for my prediction at least. But we'll have to see if they're able to change anything up and bring it back, or if Winthrop will just continue to steamroll in the latter half of this series.
And when it comes to changing things up, though, we know that HU Storm have selected to remain on red side. So I think that we can all agree we'll see a lot of similarities come through. But, you know, as Five Fire mentioned, things did look a bit cleaner this time around. I mean, Emily, when we were looking at the game prior, where it took that time to be able to close things out, what do you think it was? Some of the pressure they're able to bring and the attention kind of to those waves to make sure that it was a bit tighter this time?
Yeah, I mean, I think they sync their waves up a lot better. I think they pick their fights a lot better. And I don't think, even when we did have that one overreach with, you know, Sir Kenji getting the initial hook in the top side, red side jungle, and then Doxa going in, assassinating someone, and then not really having a route to get out of that fight. I still think, even in those plays, like, it's in a position where HU Sturm were not able to get anything off of it, right? So it didn't actually end up mattering. And I did like, again, we were pointing this out off camera, but me and Five Fire were just like, yeah, you're syncing up your waves better. You're paying attention to your side lanes. Like, we're good. We obviously learned some stuff from the previous game, and we've tightened up some of these things in terms of closing out the game. And that's really what they're going to need if they want to close out the series in the next game.
Kind of making sure that you capitalize upon those moments and that cleanliness that you brought to the table this time around, right, Five Fire?
Yeah, and it's something that you'd love to see in these, going back again to these best of 5 series being so long, is these collegiate players, you know, they aren't at the very top of their game. A lot of them are newer players in Challenger coming in, but how they're able to improve even just game on game is really fun to watch. You know, as their confidence builds, as their play builds, things get cleaner and cleaner. So that's definitely something that's exciting, and definitely looking forward to, you know, watching if they'll be even cleaner in the next game. Not entirely sure, again, because the side selection is the exact same. You know, we'll see if anything actually changes on that front. But overall, you know, definitely it's fun to see that stuff.
You're somebody who's been playing alongside a lot of these players, against these players for some time now, and I'm sure you can really recognize those levels of improvement from the start to the end. And we have thoroughly been enjoying the improvement that we see even in a single series. Because of that, the Eagles really have taken off with this thus far, accruing themselves a lead, bringing it up to 1, looking at an opportunity to close it out and earn their spot in the final opposite of Maryville University. When we return, we will continue with the action to see if we end up with some silver scrape situation. See you there.